Your favorite local grocery stores like Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, and more are now delivering on Uber Eats. Get 40% off your order of fresh, quality ingredients. Whether you just got home to an empty fridge or suddenly got a craving to whip up something new, you can get everything you need delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Get 40% off your order with code Kroger2026. Plus, members get $0 delivery fees. Order now on Uber Eats. Orders of $30 or more save up to $25. Ends 4/30/26. See app for details.
Welcome back to The Give, the official podcast of Lauren's First and Goal Clinic. This episode is about something every coach talks about, but not every coach can actually build well: culture. Coach Billy Cosh at Stony Brook took over a program that went 0-10 and flipped it fast. 8 wins in year 1, 14 wins in 2 seasons. But the real story isn't the record, it's how they built it. From how they evaluate people, to how they coach effort, to how they eliminate division inside the program. This is a clear look at what it actually takes to change a team from the inside out. If you're building a program, taking one over, or trying to fix what's not working, this one's for you. Let's get into it.
I'm excited to speak to you guys. This is a great event, great cause. Just appreciative to have the time to do this. Kind of want to go over just culture in general, but enhancing your culture. And there's some instances you can do that, whether it's in season or out of season. There's kind of just some little things that we've done here at Stony Brook. I'm going on year 3. Took over an over 0-10 team the year before I got the job, and was kind of, not sure how to do it. My first time being a head coach. I was an offensive coordinator prior to that, and numerous stops at FCS schools and at FBS schools. But you got to do what you do. You got to do what you believe in. And I got some things here to show you guys and hopefully help your program, whether it's, middle school, youth ball, high school, college, whatever it is. Hopefully it can help you as we go through this. So kind of going through this in general, kind of give you an overview, kind of what we've done so far, not where we need to be, but definitely have improved. Again, we won 8 games year 1, which is a big improvement. The year before, as you can see, we're 10, 2-9, had some decent years prior to that, but kind of fell off. And what's cool is we've had 14 wins in 2 seasons, 14-8, against FCS opponents the past 2 years. We lost to San Diego State and Marshall as part of our losses, but 14-8 versus the FCS. But the previous 5 years, we've had 13 wins prior until I got the job. And having 14-2, that's a pretty good, obviously jump, and you want to keep improving. So that's big for us. You can see the statistics, both offense and defense. Defense prior gave up nearly 40 points a game, now 23 a game. Offense before 15 a game, now 31 almost per game. So improved in a lot of categories, which is great thematically, offense, defense, and kicking game. But more importantly, the reason why we changed and improved was the things that we emphasize. You get what you emphasize, you also get what you reward. And there's things that we do within our program, which I'm going to go over, kind of the step-by-step process that we've had here through year 0 to year 2 now. So I kind of want to go over those things with you guys and kind of give you guys some tips and tells and things that we've done here. There's an equation that I believe in, that I brought up to whether it's recruits or even our team, elite teams. I'm not a math guy by any stretch of the imagination, but one thing we talk about, elite teams, they're going to add. So whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whatever it is, you're going to add players. You're going to add freshmen. You're going to add newcomers. You're going to add transfers, but you got to have the right people. You're going to subtract. Guys are going to graduate, and the things that we deal with in college football, guys are going to damn transfer now all the time. So you're going to add, you're going to subtract. But the one thing you can do is you can multiply. For sure, you can make each other better, whether it's other players pushing each other, whether it's coaches pushing players. You're going to multiply and make guys better. But the one thing we cannot do, and I tell our guys this all the time, we can't divide. There's no division in our program. On the back of our shirts is no excuses. So if we win, we win together. If we lose, we lose together. We ain't going to point the finger. We're never going to do that. I hate that. And you can see that with body language. You can see that in your off-season conditioning. You can put guys in adverse situations and see who's going to point. You don't want those guys around. So, but also you can teach it. And I'll show you some examples of ways we teach, growth and winning, growth and losing, things like that. But that's an equation I believe in. You're going to add, you're going to subtract, you're going to multiply, but you cannot divide. That's something you can't do. And that's something within your culture that you can use and talk about with your team. All right. So here's the plan. All right. This is the plan overall. So there's an old saying, this is Coach Holtz. My dad worked for Coach Holtz at South Carolina and Minnesota. It's not what you have, but it's who you have. It's who you have. It's a player's game. It's a people business, right? And you got to evaluate the right people in your program. You got to bring in the right coaches, number one, the right teachers, and then more importantly, the right players. And again, every place has holes. I believe in that. I'm at Stony Brook. We have holes within our program, whether it's facility, whatever it is. I was at Western Michigan. We had some holes. Richmond, there was a hole. VMI, we have plenty of holes, right? So, but again, it's about who you have and who you evaluate and who you bring in the program. That's very, very important, right? So one thing we look for in the recruiting process and just in general with people is we want winning people. We want winning people. We want winning players. And that's important when you're taking over a program, trying to enhance the culture, right? And there's some characteristics that I look for, whether it's a high school player or a transfer. All right. We want great character. That's non-negotiable. You got to evaluate that. You got to evaluate the people they surround themselves with, their parents, all those things. You got to have high character. You got to have great competitors. You got to have great leaders. And then one thing I look for is multiple sports athlete guys in high school, guys that play basketball, guys that play baseball, track, lacrosse. I like guys that compete consistently. That's very, very important, right? And then a big one right here, it says, I want guys that are low maintenance and have high production. That's very, very important. All right. I like guys that show up on time, not on lists, not late to study table, not late to class, don't have the wrong gear on, right? But have great production. All right. And there's a sliding scale. It's the old Jimmy Johnson, right? If you're high maintenance, you better have high production. Right. You better, if you're doing those type of things and, you're kind of tough, you better be a hell of a football player. And if you're not, you're not going to be here. Right. So guys that are low maintenance, that do those things correctly, are appreciative of things and have great production, those guys are going to have success within your program. Being unselfish, that's hard. That's hard, but you got to have guys that are selfless. It's a selfless game. There's one football in the game, as far as touches, things like that on the offensive line. Even on defense, you want guys that are unselfish, and you got to have guys that have great instincts, and guys got to have the right ability, right? Those are things that we evaluate within our program, consistently. And that's a checklist I go through with our staff when we evaluate players and look at what we want to get in the portal, but more importantly in high school. And the biggest thing is we ask a lot of questions here. Make sure we're thorough because, we're still at 6.3 scholarships. Even though it's 105, we're still at 63. And, you can't whiff. If you whiff, it's going to show with your depth, but more importantly, even your starters. So those are kind of the things that we look for within our players and in your culture. All right.
Quick break here to remind you that episodes like this are exactly why coaches come to Lawrence First and Goal Clinic. You just heard Billy Cosh lay out real ideas on culture, standards, accountability, and building a winning program from the inside out. That's the kind of teaching that Lawrence First and Goal is built on. Inside Lawrence First and Goal Clinic, you get access to presentations from coaches who are doing the job right now and sharing systems behind what they do. So if this conversation is helping you think more clearly about your program, go deeper at lfgclinic.com. Let's get back to the episode.
So kind of the plan in general, when I first got the job, but even in general, when you're, taking over a program and trying to enhance it, you got to recruit your current roster consistently. All right. It's their thing called retention, right? Retention's a big deal, right? So when I got the job here, I met with every single player. I didn't worry about my staff. I was more concerned about the guys that were there. And I met with every player. I kind of asked them who they were, what they're about, Q&A them, all that good stuff, who's important to them, what they value, things like that. But I also wanted to ask them how they want to be coached, right? And every player is going to say, well, coach, I want to be the best. Coach, I want to be coached hard. So I write it down and I give them a copy of it. So if we're coaching them hard, and they want to be the best, they're not doing those things, you can hold them accountable. Now they're a part of that equation, a part of their development. So I think that's important, right? I think too, you got to ask them, if you're taking over a program, if you're trying to build a culture, is, you're coming in new as the coach, you got to see how it was prior. You got to know what they know. sometimes you go to a program, you assume that guys know things, right? They think they got to be on time. They got to be in the right dress. They got to have the correct foot up. They know what a finish is, whatever it is. And sometimes it's not been taught. At this place here, it wasn't taught. So I got to see where they're at. So when I come in, I can meet them halfway and kind of build them, right? So that's important to me is you got to recruit your current roster consistently. Even when you're here year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5, whatever it is, you got to consistently recruit them. And one thing we do here, I say it's cutting edge, but we do exit meetings every month here. I do it monthly with our coaches. I make sure we tap in with our players, have one-on-one meetings with them. They go through a checklist of things, academically, socially, football, and seeing their progress. And you can kind of get hit on guys a little bit and see where they're at mentally and physically. So that's kind of what we believe in. Another thing, when you come into a program, you got to recruit your current players, but you also got to eliminate. That's important. You got to eliminate. There's an old adage, this is from Coach Holtz, either they become us or we become them. So when I got the job here, I was not going to become them. I wanted them to become like us, meaning the coaches and the standards. See who's aligned and see who's not aligned. I think that's important. If they're not aligned, you got to get, you got to move on. And that's what's great about the portal. It's great about recruiting. You can find the right guys and develop those guys. And talking about development, that's very, very important to me. Always tell my coaches this, don't tell me what they can't do. I want to know what they can do. You hear every coach here this day and age, well, this guy can't do this, he can't do that. Well, he's here. So let's figure out what he can do. If he can't do it, don't make him do it or try to make it a weakness to a strength, right? So you got to develop habits consistently. You got to develop effort. You got to coach effort. I believe in that. And you got to develop the fundamentals and technique like everybody talks about, right? But more importantly, you got to develop. I'm a firm believer in development. I like seeing guys improving and seeing guys getting better. Either getting better, getting worse, can't say the same. I believe in that. So that's the things that we believe in here. All right. Another thing we do here with your culture is we have expectations. It's not just one way. It's two-way. It's a two-way street. Coach to player, player to coach. You want to have concrete expectations. So one thing I tell our players, expectations of us, there's 4 things. You want to build genuine relationships, love and respect all. Coach the best player and the worst player the same. Everybody's taught the same. Walk on, scholarship player, partial scholarship player, NIL guy. Don't matter. Coach them all the same because every player deserves to be coached. Have top-down messaging. And it starts with me. We staff meet consistently as a staff. There's an old adage, if everybody's thinking alike, no one's thinking, right? So as a staff, we meet all the time. And I want to make sure that we're detailed because the players will see that if we're not thorough, if one coach is saying one thing, the other coach is saying the other thing, the players are smart enough now, they'll see it. And then they're going to not go hard for you and not going to believe in what you're saying. So we have messaging with everybody in the department, whether it's our academic team, our strength conditioning team, medical team, obviously our coaches, anybody that involves our players. I meet with all of them. I try to make sure we're aligned in our vision. One, instill confidence. That comes with preparation. Preparation creates confidence, and we believe in that. We'll be the most prepared unit, most prepared outfit. And then I'm going to get in this later, but we want to perfect the things at TNT, take no talent, effort, toughness, finishing, things like that. As soon as we stop coaching that, and it's week 3 or 4 or 5 in the season, that's when you suffer as the year progresses, right? So that's expectations of the coaches, and the players hold us accountable for that. Now, for the players, from us to the players, there's 4 things. I have 4 things. No lows, meaning play hard. That's a non-negotiable. You got to play hard. We teach that. You got to be accountable. You got to be accountable. There's no excuses in our program, win or lose. I don't want to say my shoes were untied. The sun was too hot. It was a little too cloudy. It's either you won the rep or lose the rep. You won the rep, do it again. If you lost the rep, let's find a way to win the next rep, right? Be fundamentally sound. So whatever we teach, make sure you apply and then trust the process. Rome wasn't built in a day. I always tell our players, I hear guys had a bad day. Well, usually it's a bad moment. It's like 10 to 15 seconds of the day. So it's really just a moment. It's not a day. It's a moment of time. You can't let that define you. You got to let it drive you. So those are expectations we have within our program, both players to coaches, coaches to players. We're a process team. Everybody talks about it. We are a process team. We're not an outcome team. We talk about the process and the work that comes with it. We're a routine team. We believe in routines. If the players know the routine, they will improve. If you're changing your schedule consistently, that's one more distraction for those guys. But if you're consistent in your teaching, you're consistent with your scheduling, and they know what to expect day in, day out, they'll get better, and that's one less stress. These guys have a lot of stresses already. There's social media, there's all that. If you eliminate that and give them a consistent schedule, they'll get better, and we believe in that with the process that we have. It's an example of our schedule. It's our Sunday schedule. All right, here's our Monday schedule. We're on off day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that schedule's consistent with our coaches and our players. I'm big on that. I'm big on schedule. I'm big on time management. I want to make sure our coaches have power. I want to make sure our players have power. And sometimes I've been a part of staffs where the head coaches don't tell you the times, and you don't have any power. You can't get better. You can't get ahead, right? So I want to do that as a head coach and a leader. I want to make sure we're consistent with our scheduling.
That was Stony Brook head coach Billy Cosh on The Give. A lot of coaches say they want a better culture. Coach Cosh gives you a better way to think about building one. Evaluate the right people, set clear expectations, stay aligned as a staff, develop your players, and don't let the program divide. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check out lfgclinic.com. That's where you can find more presentations, coaching education, and ideas from coaches who can help you build your program with purpose. Thanks for listening to The Give. We'll see you next time. Be sure to follow all we're doing at LFG Clinics on X. Follow me at Coach K. Grabowski and see free lessons like this one at coachandcoordinator.com.